Thank you. Much better with the microphone on, right? Okay. Good morning and welcome to the Committee of Adjustment hearings for Rural Panel 3. We're a City of Ottawa quasi judicial tribunal that holds public hearings to consider Planning Act applications, including minor variances to the zoning requirements and consent to sever land. Our hearings are now in person at Ben Franklin Place, 101 Centerpoint Drive. We also enable remote participation by video conferencing for our registered speakers. Excuse me. We are live streaming on YouTube, and the video will be archived and available for future viewing by the public. My name is Bill Hunter. I'll be chairing today's hearings, and you can address me by my name or as chair. With me are panel members, Beth Henderson to my immediate right, Martin Vervoet to my left, and Terry Otto on my far right. The procedure hearings will be as follows. Listed on the agenda and appearing on screen from time to time are the applications we'll hear today. For the sake of efficiency, I may deal with the agenda items in a different order. Panel members have reviewed the planning reports and any written submissions in support or in opposition to each of the applications. Today, we'll hear any oral submissions related to the applications. The panel may ask for a brief presentation of an application, followed by questions for the applicant and the city planning staff. We'll hear from members of the public who have registered to speak, and we may also have questions for them. Finally, the applicant, who has the burden of proof, will have an opportunity to make final comments and reply. Please address your comments to me as chair, starting with your name and spelling if necessary, and your municipal address for the record. All presentations are limited to 5 minutes. Any exceptions will be at my discretion. At the end of the hearing, the panel may either make an oral decision or we may reserve our decision, which means it won't be delivered today. In either case, and within 10 days, the Committee of Adjustment will send the official written decision and reasons for it to all the parties, participants, and anyone else who has requested a copy. Does anyone have any questions about the procedure we will be following today? No. We have several applications to hear today, but first we need to deal with some preliminary and procedural matters. Are there any declarations of interest, panel members? No, there are none. Confirmation of minutes of previous meetings. There are meetings of October 31st and November the 14th. Panel, you've read those. Do we all approve of those minutes? Yes. Okay, thank you very much. Withdrawal or adjournment requests. I've been advised it's not technically on the agenda, but it was taken off. There is a withdrawal request for 5782 Queens Court, and the applicant has withdrawn the lot line adjustment application. So that is finished and over. With regard to the unopposed applications, those will be dealt with after the adjournments. We have adjournment requests for items number 2 and 3, that is 6079 McVeigh and 6105 McVeigh. There's a consent that will be adjourned sine die. So that will be done with. The next request, I'm told that there's nobody here to speak to that, is there? I think that's what we were told before. Yeah. No,
Mr. Chair, we do have an online participant. The agent is online.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much for letting me know. Agent. Okay. Does the agent have anything to say?
Hello. Just that we, as we communicated to the committee, we agree with the adjournment requests, and we look forward to discussing the applications further with city staff and the Ottawa Septic System Office.
Okay, and adjourn sine die. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. The next adjournment is item number 4. That's 4715 Birch Grove. And there's several matters that need to be dealt with there. Is there somebody here to speak to? Yes, sir. Wonder if you could come down here, please, and turn on the microphone as I didn't at the start, and give us your name, please, and we could proceed from there.
Yes, my name is Richard Trombley.
Yes.
In regards to 4715 Birch Road.
Okay. And planning has asked for an adjournment of this for several matters. I take it you know what those matters are.
That's correct.
Yeah. And do you consent to the adjournment?
I don't necessarily do, in the sense that I don't think they appreciate the existing conditions. So I don't think the adjournment would produce anything of value.
So that if it was adjourned, say to a date, you could meet with planning. And have you had a chance to do that so far, or is that something that you think would be worthwhile, sir?
Well, I'm more than willing to meet with planning. We've only discussed by email previously.
Okay.
But absolutely, I wouldn't mind meeting with planning.
Okay. So that being the case, would it be prudent to adjourn, say to a fixed date?
I'd agree to that, just so that I could meet with planning. Absolutely.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's it. Planning, that's fine with you. Okay. What date would be your date, planning, and Mr. Tremblay?
Well, we are requesting adjournment for 3 different reasons.
Yes.
One being a revised EIS, one being MDS setback calculations provided, and then a third reason based on the current layout of the lot, we are requesting an MRIA as well. So there is a bit of work to be done. So a further date would be ideal.
Yes, I think we all agree to a date. Do you understand what they want, Mr. Tremblay?
Yes, however, I do think it's heavy-handed based on existing conditions.
Yeah.
So therefore, I don't think extending that, the date for longer would be beneficial. I think it's just a matter of explaining, so that the city can understand
Okay.
the existing conditions.
So if we were to adjourn, our next meeting, I'm advised, is January the 16th. Is that correct? Yes. Of this panel, panel 3.
Yes.
Would that be a suitable date, planning?
That would give us an opportunity to at least discuss what's being asked for and,
Yes.
and get on the same page.
And
hopefully.
Mr. Tremblay, is that date?
I'm agreeing to that date, yes.
Okay, so then it's adjourned, members, to January the 16th, 2024. Wow, new year, eh? Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Tremblay.
Thank you.
The next item is 2800 York's Corners. And I'm advised that planning has no concerns, but South Nation does have some concerns. Is there somebody from South Nation gonna be? Yes, sir. Mr. Holland.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
The OSSO has expressed concerns about meeting the building code setbacks for the septic system. I think it's unclear in their submission that it's going to meet that setback requirement. I understand that this has been discussed with city staff, and city has agreed to put in a condition. We can accept that as well. We would ask that our condition be included in the final decision there of the committee, and that the OSSO has an opportunity to review before it's cleared. What we've asked for is a scaled site plan that shows the setback for the septic system, and that it be stamped by an engineer.
Okay, is the applicant here to either online or in person to speak to this matter? Yes,
Good
sir.
evening. I am the applicant. My name is Steve, representing the applicant on this application.
Okay, could I have your thoughts, sir? You've just heard some comments. Could I have your thoughts on that, please?
Yes, I understood earlier there were some concerns from planning staff, and then as recent as yesterday, I understood there were the similar concern from the Ottawa Septic System Office. And we have agreed through discussions and email communications that the recommended conditions from both the city staff as well as from the Ottawa Septic System Office would be suitable, and we're agreeable to that condition to address the concerns. This application is really about creating a lot that contains an existing septic system and well, and we understand that it is close to the lot line and fully prepared to ensure that the location of that septic system meets the requirements of the building code. And if that means shifting the lot line marginally after doing a proper survey, that would be completely acceptable. So we are agreeable to the conditions.
Okay, and Mr. Holland, are you also agreeable to the conditions?
Yes, yes, we accept that.
Okay. Members of the panel have any questions or comments? No? Can we grant this? Granted? Granted? Yes, okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate your input.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I thought it was dealt with. Just a minute, please.
Mr. Chair, perhaps we can step this down for recall later in the agenda.
Yep,
So we can
okay.
hear from all parties.
Okay. Okay, so we'll hear from planning when we get to it. Okay? Okay with that? Thank you. Okay, next one is 5536 Downey. And yes, come on up, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning. Who's the spokesperson?
We are.
There?
It's a team effort.
Could I have your name, please? Oh, that's always the good way to go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's Arjun Soor with Novatech.
Okay. So 7, I have a note that it's agreed to adjourn to January the 16th. Is that a correct note that I have?
Correct. Yes.
And planning, is that agreeable?
Yes, that is agreeable.
Okay. Anything you wish to add, or just wait to January the 16th?
Nope. I think we can wait until January the 16th. We'll have our discussions with the city as we need, and then
Good.
we'll see each other on January 16th.
Okay. So it's adjourned then to January the 16th. Okay. Thank you very much for coming. The team did a wonderful job. Yes. Okay, so let's go back to the items then that are still out there, and item number 1 is 432 David Manchester.
Mr. Chair, can I suggest we do items 5 and 9 as they're not unopposed?
5 and 9. Yeah, they are unopposed. That's Ms. Sander. So item number 5 is 2850 Montague Boundary. And Ms. Sander, I can see that you're with us.
Good morning, Mr. Chair.
Good morning. Thank you for coming.
Mhm.
Planning, this is unopposed. Planning has no concerns, I understand. I'm sorry?
Yes, that's correct.
That's correct. Anything you wish to add, Ms. Sander?
No, Mr. Chair, I think we've reviewed the conditions and we're fully satisfied. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Can we grant this then, members? Okay, thank you. And Ms. Zander, before you get away, we have number 9, which is 6784 Fernbank.
Correct.
I'm advised that there's planning has no concerns with that. Is that correct, planning?
That is correct.
And Ms. Zander, is there anything you wish to add or?
No, this one's the same. I believe my clients for this one are in the room with you this morning, but we have discussed the conditions and I don't have any concerns.
Yes, I can see them here. They just waved and
Terrific.
they have smiles on their faces, so that's
Great.
always good.
Yes.
Thumbs up. Thank you very much. Okay, so we grant that, members. Okay, well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, persons, for coming. I appreciate you being here, and thank you, Ms. Zander, as always.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care.
Okay, now can we go to number 1? Okay, number 1 is 432 David Manchester. And is there any, yes.
Good morning, Mr. Chair.
Good morning.
Peter Hume, for the applicant.
Okay. And
And our concern is with one of the conditions being requested to be imposed by the committee. It's a request from the city with respect to a noise attenuation study.
yes,
Um,
is that number 5 condition?
that's condition number 5, correct.
And what is your problem with
So,
that condition? Mr.
well, these conditions are often requested because they meet a certain guideline. And they're imposed and they're requested to be imposed by you without really any context to the site and to the site characteristics. And in this case, the applicant and we believe that the context of this application really doesn't warrant the spending of significant funds to impose or to conduct a study and impose some sort of recommendations on title. And I have a brief presentation that gives you some of that context if you want me to go through it, or I can just go back to sort of some of the factors that I'd like you to consider before you impose this. First of all, is it reasonable? David Manchester's gravel road across the street from the property is our farmers' fields. The trigger for this application is its proximity to the 417 in the rear yard. But if you look at development patterns and where houses would be constructed, and if you looked at an aerial photo, you have significant vegetation and trees between the roadway and any potential development. So the question is, what is the ultimate benefit of a noise attenuation study? There's ample plantings that have been done there's not ample plantings, there's ample vegetation that's being done along the potential rear property lines, the potential there are setback requirements from MTO, and I would note MTO is not requesting a noise attenuation study. So in that context, the question is, what is ultimately the public benefit? And the point that I'm trying to make here is we can do the study, we can spend the $5,000 to $7,000 that a study requires, and we can wait while the city legal department prepares an agreement for whatever minor recommendations would come from it. But the public benefit, what is the public benefit? And I'm here to say, given the context of the lot, where potential development will occur, the setbacks that MTO requires from the rear property line and the plantings, there really is no public benefit. And this is just really an exercise to check a box. And, you know, the owner of this property is just a rural resident. She's not a developer and not a proponent. And, you know, the cost to do some of these things for little to no real public benefit given the context is really questionable. We know the city has guidelines and the guidelines trigger this, but given the context, we really don't think that there's a public benefit, and we'd ask you not to impose it. We're fine with all the other conditions.
It's only that one, then
It's only that one.
Yeah.
You
Okay,
know, all the other ones, we understand and we see the public benefit. We don't really see the public benefit in this.
Yeah, okay. Yes, Mr. Vervoort, please.
Mr. Hume, do you know what the setback requirements are for from the MTO?
I do, in fact. I have them right here. It controls any development. So MTO controls any development within 45 meters of the MTO property line. Building setbacks are 14 meters and well must be 30 meters from the MTO property line.
So about 150 feet, I guess, is what we're talking about here, right?
Yeah, and you know, the lot is somewhere in the range of depth from road to front property line between 200 and 250 meters from the from what would be the noise source, the actual roadway.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, members of the planning? Could I have your comments, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair. So we're requesting the noise study because the official plan requires a noise study for the creation of any lot within a potential source of noise. In addition, it's understood that vegetation may not necessarily be an attenuation or provide attenuation for noise, especially seasonally. That could change in the winter, for example. So we'd like to see the condition remain.
Is it always imposed? Is the condition always imposed in circumstances such as this?
Oh, that's right.
Mr. Hume, would you like to respond?
Well, yes, I understand. I understand the city's official plan says it goes everywhere, and it says it goes everywhere without any context. Now, when you look at the noise control guidelines, the solutions that they impose, well, build a fence, build a non-acoustic fence. I'm not sure any rural property owner is going to build a non-acoustical fence a lot in their backyard. The other one is noise warnings on title. I'm not sure that everyone is aware that everyone is aware that the 417 is in their backyard. They're going to understand that. I'm not sure what the public benefit of building a fence, a solid fence or a berm or some other noise attenuation measure, which is in the guidelines, which I read yesterday. They're just, it doesn't seem reasonable to me to require a homeowner or a potential homeowner on a property that big to go in and either build a fence or build a berm, given the condition of the vegetation and those in the and the other contexts of the lot and its location. Understand the city's requirement and the official plan requires it, but the context of the property and the lot, I think, I'm not sure it justifies the expense of the certainly the expense of the study and the requirements of the city to put it on title, and nor do I think that it's reasonable to require those rural property owners to do things like build a berm or build a fence, given the proximity of a potential house hundreds of meters away from the noise source. I just don't think that there's an overriding public benefit that is going to flow from the imposition of the condition. I mean, great, we can impose a condition, you can check the box. I just don't think that exercise amounts to a public benefit, and that's why we're objecting to the condition.
Planning, rather than noise study, is there something that can be registered on title?
So a notice on title would likely be required, but as a recommendation from the noise study. The noise study would determine what's appropriate.
I see. So the noise study has to exist before the letter or the notice on title.
That's right.
Even though the property is close to the 417, which we all know creates noise.
Yep.
Members of the panel, thoughts? Yes, Mr. Otto.
Correct me if I'm wrong, planning, but it seems to me a number of years ago, we had a couple of requests like this. And rather than do the study in full detail, there was another type of study that they could do with things that were already on record. Because it looks to me like there's a couple of houses already quite close to the 417, probably going to be closer than the proposed houses that are going to be built. And just a little further, I would say to the east, it looks like there's subdivisions there. So there must have been some kind of noise studies done for those. Could they possibly not look those up and use those rather than doing a full-blown noise assessment study?
I unfortunately can't really speak to the studies that were done previously for other properties. This is my understanding what would apply to any new development.
Any other comments? Shall we, oh, Mr. Verford, sorry.
Yeah, I'm concerned about these noise studies that we have to do all this, or that are required by the official plan, especially in situations such as this, but we're stuck with the official plan requirement. And I think in this particular case, if we don't impose it on a lot backing onto the 417, like, then we would never impose it. So my view is that unfortunately for the applicant, the official plan requires it, and it should stay. That being said, hopefully planning and engineering can work with the applicant to minimize any requirements from that, but I would leave the condition in.
Is there any way planning, to minimize? I heard the cost several $1,000s. We know it's going to say there's noise there. Is there any way that planning can work to reduce that cost somehow?
I unfortunately can't comment on
No,
that,
okay.
to my knowledge.
No, I understand.
I'm not sure the study is going to say there's noise there. That's the public, that's the question about
okay.
around the public benefit, but we'll live with the decision of the committee, which we needed to raise it. We needed to, and Mr. Vervoet is right. We're stuck with the official plan, and it's blanket, one size fits all for these studies without context. But we wanted to raise it. We needed to raise it with you on behalf of the homeowner who's going to have to, pay the money to do the study.
Yeah, no, you've clearly laid it out, but as Mr. Vervoort indicated, we are a little bit hands tied on this. Any other comments, members of the panel at all? Do we pass this as is? Yes? Yes? Okay, it's granted as is, the conditions in.
Understand that, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much,
Okay.
Mr.
Okay,
Chairman,
thank
members
you.
of the panel.
Thank you, Mr. Hume, for coming. Appreciate it. Okay. Next item is number 8. Number 6. Yeah, York's Corners. Oops. Somebody here to deal with the York's Corners? Online?
Hello, it's Steve Pence again. I'm here
Yeah.
still.
No, okay, I just didn't see you there for a minute.
Okay.
Okay, would
So-
you like to go ahead?
Yes, so thanks for having me back. I'm here representing the application, and as I mentioned earlier, we had filed this application to sever a lot with an existing dwelling containing or having a septic system and well on the property. We generally don't have any concerns with the conditions that were recommended by planning staff. Leading up to this hearing, we learned that there were some concerns with respect to the location of the existing septic system, in that it's fairly close, or the lot line that we're proposing is very close to the location of that system. We don't have precise location details, but we're prepared to do that work to ensure that the lot line does meet building code requirements in terms of separation from that septic system's location. As I mentioned earlier, it's the same concern that the Ottawa Septic System Office has expressed, and they in turn have imposed a condition that deals with that same matter. So having said that, in locating the septic system with its more precise location, we will have to shift that lot line marginally, I think, or possibly, maybe not. But in any event, our intent here is to create a 4.2 acre-ish lot. If that lot line has to shift marginally to accommodate the required setbacks, that doesn't change the essence of the application. The full intent here is to make sure that that septic system and well are on the lot as proposed. So having said that, we are prepared with to accept those conditions and generally have no concerns.
Okay, so does it need to be adjourned then, in your opinion?
From my perspective, I think things should be good to go.
Okay.
I see the planners there to have some comments as well, I take it.
Yep, maybe planning, could you comment, please?
I'd say planning staff are agreeable to them proceeding with the conditions as they are included.
Okay, with the conditions that are there.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's right.
okay. Members of the panel, any questions, comments? No? Can we grant this? Yes, it's granted. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I see.
Yes, I'm
James
sorry.
that
I'm sorry.
I'm speaking for James here, but I just want to make sure you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I just want to be sure that South Nation's condition was added to the list of city conditions.
Planning? The South Nation, sorry, could you say that again, sir?
Yeah, so we asked for a condition that was similar to number 5, but we want to give the OSSO an opportunity to review the next submission and to sign off on it themselves. So we have requested another condition. I just want to make sure it's included in the committee's decision today.
Okay. Which condition is that?
Okay, so the way that I've written it, it states the applicant provides a scaled plan stamped by an engineer demonstrating that all septic systems conform to Part 8 of the building code to the satisfaction of the Ottawa Septic System Office. The condition will be cleared in writing by South Nation Conservation.
Is that a condition that we could put in?
Yes, Mr. Chair, it is. We do have the wording for that on file.
Okay, so everybody's agreeable with that condition? The applicant too?
Yes.
I see you nodding, yes, okay.
Yes.
And planning, obviously.
Yes.
Okay, so with that condition then, we can grant it. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for adding that, Mr. Holland. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, I think the next item is number 7.
Number 8, Mr. Chair.
Number 8. Yeah, 7 was adjourned. Number 8, I gather there've been some amendments. So I'll read those amendments. The applications are to be amended as follows. File number B00422, frontage to be 109 meters. Depth 129 meters, area 1.4 hectares. And that's at 530 Rock Forest Road. File number B00423, frontage 101 meters, depth 129 meters, area 1 hectare. The retained land shown on the said sketch will have a frontage of 568 meters on Rock Forest Road and 309 meters on Greenland Road, a depth of 923 meters and a lot area of 25.55 hectares. This parcel is vacant and is known municipally as 3 Rock Forest Road. Any other amendments? No, that's fine. Yes, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. My name is Ryan Polton. I'm a planner at Novatech, and I acted as the agent on behalf of the owners to prepare and file these applications.
Okay, have you any comments?
I do have comments with regard to some of the conditions proposed by the city in their staff report. I also have a full presentation prepared if you want to hear that. The applications were originally filed in 2021. Adjourned sine die. It was reactivated in December 2022. Went through a couple of hearings, but ended up adjourned sine die once again in April of this year.
Right.
We, at that point, changed the locations of the severances. did that work, updated the environmental impact study. At that point, we reactivated the applications once again. And then there were some final comments, just minor changes to the severance boundaries. That's why it was adjourned in October, and now we're back here.
I'm advised the planning has no concerns.
That's correct.
That's correct. Okay. And the condition, sir, Mr. Polton, I understand is a condition number 4, and that is the geotechnical report. Is that what you object to?
Well, we object to conditions 3 and 4, but
3.
they're related. Condition 3 has to do with registering an agreement on title that is a warning clause. And so basically it has to do with karst topography. As well, then condition 4 is a geotechnical report having to do with karst topography. So the city's the staff report that was prepared has a statement that says city mapping has identified that there is known karst topography on the property. As a result, staff are requesting that a geotechnical investigation be undertaken to ensure that the lot can be made suitable for residential purposes. So that's the only statement in the staff report we have with regard to that geotechnical report, and it has only to do with karst topography. That's what we have. And the way condition 3 is worded is more broad. It says that the city of Ottawa has identified that there are potential thin soils, bedrock outcroppings, organic soils, and karst topography within the area, and it goes on. And so we've sent this through email as well. We've made some proposed changes to the wording just to remove thin soils, bedrock outcroppings, organic soils from that warning clause, because that does not relate to the concerns expressed by the city. And similarly, in terms of condition 4, that's the requirement for a geotechnical report. We can agree to prepare a geotechnical report as a condition, but it should be limited just to concerns with regard to karst topography. And in 4A, they list that in terms of the geotechnical report, that all parcels to be created by this application are or can be made suitable for residential purposes. And then in brackets, they have slope stability, erosion protection, karst topography, and building limits adjacent to slopes. We're proposing to remove all the wording other than karst topography from those brackets. As well, 4B says that there are no adverse environmental impacts. We prepared an environmental impact study that speaks to environmental impacts of the severances and the buildable areas on the properties. And that report has concluded that there's no environmental concerns. So I'm not sure why a geotechnical report would speak to environmental concerns when that's not the intent of a geotechnical report. So those are, and I sent this wording in an email. So if we need any clarification on that, but that's our proposed wordings and that's our concerns with the way they're worded right now. And again, we'd be happy to accept these conditions as we've reworded them.
Right. Planning, have you received these? I haven't received them.
Yes.
What are your thoughts, Mr. Teft?
Yes, so I did not specify it in my report, which I acknowledge, but in our mapping, there is potential organic soils identified on the property as well. And karst is also sometimes associated with thin soils, bedrock outcrops, and slope stability issues. So we ideally like to see the condition remain as is. And by extension, we'd like to see condition 4 remain as is as well.
Okay, so you don't want to accept Mr. Polton's wording on those, the changes.
That's
Is that
correct.
Yes, Mr. Vervoort.
A couple questions. One for the applicant. It doesn't seem to make a whole lot of difference, does it, in the end, or is this more of a matter of principle in tightening up the conditions? Because it seems to me that you're probably going to run into these things in any event, and with respect to the no adverse environmental impacts, that's probably addressed already through your EIS, so I'm not sure. I guess I'm just trying to understand.
Okay, Our concerns are basically essentially that the wording of the conditions is more broad than we would like to see. It provides an opportunity, like the warning clause in terms of warning potential future purchasers speaks to many different issues that again aren't before us in terms of comments, but I understand the city still has concerns because typically karst topography can have those other issues. But where the severances are, like my understanding for organic soils is typically, and I'm not a geotechnical expert, but my understanding for organic soils is that it's where there's a wetland or swamps. We've identified where that is and located the severances out 30 meters away from the water course, outside of where that swamp is located. And as well, unstable slopes and organic soils are identified by the official plan on their schedules, on their environmental constraint schedules. They're not identified on this property at all. And so from our perspective, from a policy perspective, these additional issues they've raised do not relate to the proposed severances and the proposed building envelopes on the severed lots. And so the warning clause would not be appropriate for future purchasers because it'd be warning against issues that our EIS says isn't there and the official plan says isn't there. In terms of the geotechnical report, we're concerned about scope creep, and we're concerned 3 months down the line, we prepare a geotechnical report, get that reviewed by the city, and they come back with environmental concerns, and they come back with, we want you to speak to slope stability. We want you to speak to erosion protection, where there's no slopes and there's no concerns with erosion protection at this point. So that's why and again, building limits adjacent to slopes. There's no slopes identified on the property. So we're concerned how this is worded. It's far more broad than what the concerns the city's raised. We've got another study that says these building envelopes are appropriate on the site with regard to the environment. So that's why we would still request our revisions to the conditions.
Did you have another question?
Thank you.
Mr. Berman?
Yeah, just for planning, so maybe Mr. Teeft can respond to that. I think the applicant's concern is with report creep, I guess we'll call it. Sometimes things are asked that don't necessarily apply, and there's delays, of course, and additional costs. So it seems to me that the environmental impact, no adverse environmental impact clause in condition 4, wouldn't that be fully addressed by the EIS with the building envelopes that have been identified?
So to address that point, if a geotechnical report is completed that potentially shows where the current envelopes is not necessarily appropriate for development due to the underlying bedrock, they may need to adjust their development envelopes, which will not be covered by the EIS at that point. So that's why we would like to have environmental impacts addressed as well.
Thank you.
Yes, Ms. Any further questions? No, shall we reserve this? Yes? Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for coming
Thank you.
in. Thank you for your comments. We'll get back to you.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is that it? That's it? Okay. Thank you very much, planning staff, members of the panel. We're adjourned.